Welcome, Roster Wars, back to the latest edition of Across the Pond. With me, as usual, is Ross of the Latvia Unicorns and Nathan of the Stellenbosch Saints. Welcome back, guys. How have you been? How's the first few weeks of the season been treating you?
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. It's up and down fantasy-wise. You can never predict anything. I try to ignore the scoreboard as long as I can because I'll just get depressed watching it throughout the games, I think.
Nathan?
No, similar to Ross. It's been one of those seasons. I think both my fantasy Saints and my New Orleans Saints have been tough watching on the weekend, but otherwise, all good. Work, normal life is as it goes, daily, one day at a time. But otherwise, all good. How's things your side, Mike?
Yeah, all good. Just had a holiday. The Bears I'm ignoring pretty much. We're in a holding pattern this year, and the Legion's being up and down. I thought I could have won a couple more than I have, that so far not that way. So got to chase the higher placed teams above me, like the Mungmen, who seem to be in rebuild but winning games left, right, and centre. So annoying is the phrase I'd like to use for Corbyn on that one. So it's been a while since we've all been here for various reasons, busy doing life and whatever else. 6 weeks into Roster Wars, 6 weeks into the NFL. Any sort of breaking news you want to discuss today? I guess there's a big trade happened today for one.
Massive trade, absolutely massive, seismic. It's going to affect the whole NFL. Robbie Anderson's now a Cardinal. I think it was based on Marquise Brown's injury. He got a foot injury. Looks like he's going to be out for the season. But so a couple of later round picks for Robbie Anderson, who's just a discounted version of Marquise Brown. He's taller and not as talented as a poor Roster Wars. So
no.
Yeah,
he's got to get a pace to stretch the field, I guess. But yeah, it's not quite Marquise Hollywood Brown for sure. So
look, I think from my point of view, obviously the big thing is obviously Nuke Hopkins coming back as well. I think look, it's perfect timing that Nuke's coming back, and I think that could only possibly add a little bit of value to Robbie Anderson. Look, everyone in the fantasy world and everyone in the NFL knows what you're getting with someone like Robbie Anderson. I think if anyone can speak better, it's probably Ross with his brief time on the Jets. But I think it was a very much needed trade from the Cardinals, having lost Hollywood Brown. James Conner obviously can't stay fit either. Kyler Murray stuttering. Zach Ertz can only do so much now. He's no young pup anymore. So it's a bit of a worrying time there, I think, in Arizona. And I think they're going to need all the bodies and all the fit bodies that they can get. So it'll be interesting to see if Robbie Anderson can sort of carve out a bit of a role for himself. But at the same time, I can't imagine he's sort of the marquee player that they're going to filter the majority of sort of the volume through. I don't know what's your feel, Ross? You obviously know him on your time with the Jets.
Yeah, I actually really liked him as a player. Like he would always seem to come up with big plays, but that was like as a third receiver. He's definitely more reliable, like you said, just stretch the field. But the negative side that I'm coming from is he's been traded mid-season, and how often do players who get traded mid-season go to a new team and turn out to actually be good? There's a reason he's been traded. It's because he's a nutcase, and he's not going to be integrated into the locker room very quickly and get on the field and have a good relationship with Kyler Murray really quickly.
No, apparently he's very big into computers. And he's a big Call of Duty fan. So the elite Kyler Murray will be very happy to welcome him into the desert with him. So you said elite, Nathan. Is that right? Elite.
We can. I'll prefer to get the Pokai Panthers Sam's take on how good Kyler Murray really is. He's been
just adds to his value
as well. Just privately though, he doesn't like showing his cards on the forum. It's just on emails that he tells me how good Robbie Anderson and Kyler Murray will be.
Yep. Well, I wish you luck in your trade negotiations. Was it 3 to 4 months? Isn't it the average trade time for you in the PP?
Yeah, it's been slim pickings. I think a combination of my ridiculously high demands and a combination of some people replying, some people just rejecting without replying, and just
You probably
just the
find
usual.
most of the guys have put you onto spam, so it just goes straight into the junk filter.
I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I don't take any offense now from it. I think a few I get I get a very few sarcastic replies, quite a few from Nick recently, just laughing, saying, "Is this being serious?" And I get quite touched when someone sends it back to me. Have to send them a long page essay of why this makes sense to me, and he's like, "No, it's just not going to work. You're on a different planet." But I'm used to it by now.
So you and I are the issue of, with both shit brokers. So we both expect counters, even from shit offers. Sorry, language, but yeah, we both expect people to counter back, even though they are way off page. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Talking of garbage, Carson Wentz out for 6 to 8 months. So the main man's back in Washington. Tyler Henneke, I suppose, will be putting on the jersey and starting next week. So a mad scramble on waivers for him, I suppose.
Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it came out a bit earlier on 6 to 8 weeks, I think it was.
No, but is it confirmed Heineke's the one stepping in? I would have thought it'd be Sam Howell.
Yeah, Sam
It could be Sam Howell. Sorry, yes, no. But I'm trying to sell Tyler Heineke. So he's currently on my waiver list. He's worth at least a third or a fourth, or two first, depending on who's buying. Yeah, so,
I think, I think it's all about Sam Howell and his North Carolina Tar Heel man. He was obviously pretty good. Look, I follow college football from afar, but I think he did obviously well enough to sort of get drafted where he did. But I think it'll be interesting. I think the Washington is Ron. Yeah, we obviously love Riverboat Ron, but I think Riverboat Ron's possibly on a little bit of borrowed time here. That NFC East as well is looking very competitive. When the Giants are sitting at 5-1 and whatever it is, 4-1, 5-1, and you've obviously got the Eagles and the Cowboys flying with Cooper Rush. There's a lot of pressure there in Washington, and I think. I think some heads could be on the chopping block very soon.
I think more people would like to see the ownership's head on a block more than the current head coach, but I guess that's a whole new story. Snyder's issues will be ongoing. You happened to mention something just there, one of the teams, but so I was going to go big surprises for the season, and I'll pass the floor to Ross, who probably doesn't think it's much surprise, but the Jets. How great are they been?
Yeah, we are so good. We're legitimately good. And we're 4-2 after 6 weeks, and literally no one would have thought that we'd be 4-2 after 6 weeks. But when you look at the wins that we've had throughout the season, it's sort of progressed. So the first win against the Browns was just complete luck. Like we scored 14 points in like a minute and 50 seconds or something ridiculous like that.
Joe Flacco, what a hero.
Yeah, I don't even know how we won that. And then we sort of sneaked one against the Steelers, but these last two wins have been like legitimate wins where we've been the better team. And that's obviously Zach Wilson's back, and the defense is absolutely cooking. We destroyed the Packers yesterday, and Quentin Williams is just an absolute beast. I think he must be the best defensive tackle in the league right now. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being a homer when I say that. I don't know if you consider Aaron Donald the defensive tackle, but other than that, Quentin Williams is definitely there. And Sauce Gardner as well. Our number one picks are absolutely flying. Gardner has won us this game, a couple of games now. Breece Hall, last couple of games, been really good, even though he's a second round pick. And Garrett Wilson had his day against the Browns as well. So it's just been really good additions in the offseason that have made us a better team. And now we're such a young team, the baby Jets, we're being called. We've got a lot of belief. And after 4 wins, who says we can't make the playoffs?
Well, I did 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, so I'll take that back. Sorry,
thanks, mate.
But yeah, your draft picks are coming to form, right? So it just goes to show you can hit on more than one per year. Breece Hall's looked very good, very explosive. I love Sauce Gardner. He's and the fact he's actually got the humour to wear the cheese head as well.
Yeah,
and it's done in a way that's not offensive. It's a bit of fun. I like that side of him. And yeah, I think it's impressive to see a young side come through, and I mean, obviously the Packers are a bit banged up with wide receivers and whatever else, but you did dominate that team. You know, Rodgers had nowhere to go. Quinn Williams was dominant. I started working on the weapon report today, and his points are quite impressive. So I think he is on the arsenic. I think so. Sort of
Sadly, yeah. Arsenic was playing me this week, and he had three calls, and Quinn Williams, who both went off. And I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm enjoying myself.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Yeah, I was up against Carla, and due to unfortunate circumstances, she had Tannehill on a bye and Mac Jones injured, so she wasn't able to start a quarterback. But Quinn Williams made up for any sort of missed points there at quarterback. But no, I was just looking at the Jets' upcoming fixtures here, Ross. You've obviously got, I think you have Broncos on the road, and then you've pretty much got Patriots at home, Bills at home, Patriots away. And I think literally in the next 3 weeks, maybe in the next 4 weeks, wait until you've played Patriots home and away, you are going to very well know whether you're a playoff team or not. Because if you can, and this is obviously a big can do the double on the Patriots, to me, it will really put the pressure on the Dolphins in that AFC East, and if not, just outright qualifying as a wild card in the AFC. The AFC we've seen has been sort of hot and cold. You've had teams like the Ravens, back to sort of Mike's sort of topic of conversation, surprisingly bottle these games right at the end. You've got the AFC North, which is just further to the Ravens in a bit of turmoil. You've got Pittsburgh beating Tampa, but then losing really easy games. You've got even the Bengals now. They started really slowly. They look like they're coming good, obviously to the detriment of the Saints. But I think looking at your upcoming fixtures, Ross, what of the next sort of 3-4 games do you think is the biggest crunch game? Do you think it's the Patriots at home?
Well, we need to take one of them. So we're 3-0 on the road. So that seems to be doing well for us on the road, even though the Jets were saying that it felt like a home game in Lambeau Field. There was that many Jets fans. But
I'm sure Nick was there with his Jets flag, flying it high.
AFC Wimbledon scarf, in fact, he was with. It was AFC Wimbledon scarf at Lambeau Field.
So I think if we split the Patriots, or if we go 1-1 against the Patriots, that would signify like a change. So we've not really won. Well, I can't remember the last time we beat the Patriots, to be honest. If we could, and they're not formidable at all. We shouldn't be scared of them. The Bills, we're probably going to go 0-2 against the Bills. But like I said, the schedule after these 4 games, so we've got 3 games: Broncos, Patriots, Bills. Then there's a bye. If we can get into that, if we can take 2-1, we're absolutely flying, because the home stretch for us, we're playing the Bears, the Lions, the Vikings, who are beatable as well.
The Jags.
The Jags, these
Seahawks.
are all exactly. They're all winnable games. And this team, when they smell blood in the water, they go for it. That's what happened in this game. That's what happened against the Dolphins as well. Fourth quarter, second half, come out and just absolutely beat up on teams. And I'm looking forward to being competitive towards the end of the year, let's say. I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
So the Dolphins surprised me as well. They come out the blocks, go 3-0, and then lose 3 on the spin. Obviously, quarterback issues, concussion issues. Sorry, a bad back issue, not a concussion issue. But I guess that just shows you how thin the margin. If you look across the whole of the AFC, apart from the Bills at 5-1, there's no real team that's sort of standing out 4-2, 3-3. No one's really kind of broken away. Whereas the NFC,
it's the Bills and Chiefs, and then everyone else.
Yeah, so anything's possible, right? So like you said, if you can get through the next 5-6 weeks, you can really start enjoying yourself towards the end of the season. Momentum's obviously key. I think it was Uncle Mo. Someone described it as watching one of the football the other night. So it's kind of a strange way of looking at it, but that will help you anyway. And I think also, be it young players, there's no scars. There's no issues of previous years against the Bills or the Dolphins. Yeah. It's fresh. You can come out. People like Sauce Gardner have got that bit of sauce about him who will drag the rest of the team on. So I think that's quite good. Then you've got the other side of New York, where that's come from, I don't know as well. They've gone from being the laughing stock, I suppose, one of them, to they also beat the Packers in London the other week. I think this New York must be a very, very happy place for football fans at the moment.
Well, I think almost the opposite. I would love to hear more from our diehard Packers fans on what it's like to be humbled by both New York teams back-to-back weeks. It must have been quite something, especially those diehard fans that made the trip to London as well, coming all the way to London to see your team lose to Danny Dimes, and then going all the way back to Lambeau, expecting a sort of walk in the park, this young baby Jets team to rock up and walk past them, and then you get battered by a baby-faced assassin
The
and
MILF
Robert,
Hunter.
yeah, and Robert Sala. And look, back onto topic, back onto sort of the Jets. Look, onto the Giants. They've surprised many. I think you're right, and I think I was mentioning to both of you, Mike and Ross before. I think they've done it in quite an unusual way, or at least a very sort of under the radar way, where it seems to me that Brian Dobell, what he's got that team doing is they know they're not, arguably based on Danny Dimes' restrictions as a sort of quarterback, then they're not necessarily going to blow teams away. Unless you get Saquon going off from the kick, and to be fair, he's gone off the whole season anyway. But I don't know if he limped off at the end of the game this weekend, but it seemed to be that there might have been a little niggle there. So it's probably something worth watching. But the reality is
Who's that, Jones or Barkley?
Barkley.
He's held together by bits of sticky tape at the moment. His left arm's hanging off, his right arm's hanging off. But he's producing week in, week out. And I'm sorry, I've got to touch. Danny Dimes is a dual threat quarterback.
Mate,
he is running in touchdowns all over the place. Okay, end. Kyler Murray's nothing on this boy. This boy's great. Anyway,
is this just a vehicle to sell your players? Is this what it's become? Kyler Murray.
No, I picked him up because I had a lot of injury problems with earlier on. It's like, and he's actually done really well for me, so I'm very pleased. I might have to consider keeping him at the end of the season. Super franchise tag him and lock him up forever.
Give him 100 Warbucks and a 6-year contract.
Please do.
But sorry, just back to the Giants. I think what Brian Dobell's got this team doing is whatever they're doing, they're just trying to stay within one scoring possession. They're trying to keep the games as tight as possible, take it as deep as possible in the fourth quarter, and then essentially back themselves to make a play. Look at Thibodeau, his first NFL sack this weekend on Lamar Jackson, wins the game. He was in tears afterwards. He's obviously such a guy that wears his sort of heart on the sleeve. I agree with you, Ross. I think it's a bit much at times, but that's why the Jets got Jermaine Johnson instead. Absolute stud. But look, I think that is what the Giants are doing. Whether that is sustainable long term, and depending on sort of the fixtures that they come up against, it will be interesting. They obviously still have to play the Eagles twice, and at the moment the Eagles are the best team in the league. I hate to say it because some people from Philadelphia can be quite in your face, a bit like Manchester United at times. But the reality is, I think the NFC East, at the start of the season, everyone wrote it off. Everyone thought this is a pony league. This is the division with the weaker sides, and I think that is, to me, my biggest surprise in the NFL this season is the NFC East as a whole. I don't know, Mike. Do you have any sort of closing sort of comments on the G-Men, or any other comments yourself on the Giants?
I think what summed up. I saw the press conference last night after the game. So Dable's come out. He said, basically, it's not perfect. It's not great. We just keep working hard and keep believing. All I'm going, telling the guys on the sideline is keep going. This game is not over. And I think, like I said, as long as you're within one score, 2 scores with enough time on the board, they're showing everything's possible. And they're beating teams like the Packers. It's not games that they're just expecting to win against the Bears, and they're winning other games now. So New York must be a happy place. But that division. Dak Prescott, do they need him back? Probably not. Just get rid of him. Keep Cooper Rush.
I think he definitely helps that Cowboys team out, and I think that's just a scary thought. I think, look, Cooper Rush has ticked every box that you want sort of an interim backup quarterback to do. It's sort of the year that we had Drew Brees, and Drew Brees missed time, and then Teddy Bridgewater stepped in and went 5 games unbeaten. That's what you want in your backup quarterback. But he's not your number one. And Dak is a special talent, although he's been injured for quite a while. He's someone that if he comes back into the situation now where what the Cowboys, I think they're 4-2, they could get very, very competitive in the run in. And if they start hitting their strides, Tony Pollard's been a great surprise this year. Look, Zeke's held his sort of value as you always would imagine with the volume that he carries. But that Cowboys team, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup's back fit. Dalton Schultz is trying to come back from his fitness as well, his issues. That Cowboys team is dangerous, and it's going to be interesting to see how, if who knows, maybe they could be a surprise for a late playoff run wild card position in the NFC, because the NFC is also looking like a bit of a mess at the moment.
Yeah, that defense has been the biggest surprise for me as well, and that's to me what makes them dangerous, is that they've got so much talent. Micah Parsons has got to be the best defensive player in the league right now. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's certainly in the conversation, right? I mean, he's real life and fantasy side values very, very high on both sides. His tackles, he is. He showed last year's not a rookie fluke. This is a guy going into year two, and he's still dominant. So I think he's actually fun to watch. He's up there. I think if he keeps this going, he must be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, I'd have thought.
Absolutely. I remember laughing at him last year, thinking, what are the Cowboys doing, selecting a third linebacker that high, and then they're going to play him in defensive end. You can't just switch positions like this is the NFL. But it turns out you can do whatever you want if you're as talented as Micah Parsons. But he's leading that defense, and the whole defense is just absolutely swarming, and that made it easy for Cooper Rush to come in and win games throwing for 102 yards, things like that. So if you come in and get Dak back and he just elevates offense a little bit, that's all it needs, is just a little bit of elevation, and they're going to be in contention definitely when it comes to the playoffs. And like we mentioned before, no one's really that good. Like you've got the division teams, but then outside of that, the NFC West isn't good. The NFC South definitely isn't good. The Minnesota Vikings are 5-1, I think, but I wouldn't be convinced that they're a 5-1 team right now. So yeah, if they can get to the playoffs, then they can definitely challenge.
They beat the Packers as well. Just to be clear, they did beat the Packers. The Packers lost to lots of people. two from New York, one from Minnesota. It's all good. But not a Bears fan. I'm pushing the Packers are losing quite regularly.
But Ross, I think sort of basically leveraging what you've just said, I think moving, obviously very briefly onto the NFC West now. I think, as Mike, I think you mentioned just before we sort of started recording, I think one of the biggest surprises is the Super Bowl champions, the LA Rams. Mike, what's happening in LA? Is Sean McVay losing it, or is it Stafford? Is it the defense? What's going on? What's your opinion?
I think two things for me. The O-line, you look at who played last year and who played this year. I think there's literally one guy started last night who played in the Super Bowl. And also the entire coaching staff's revolved around the door. Everyone's gone off and got head coaching jobs elsewhere, right? So it takes its time. Also, a lot of teams can't repeat. It's very hard to get back the following year. I mean, even very few sides can do it. The Cowboys have done it. The Patriots have done it. The Chiefs did it, but didn't win it twice. There's a lot of. It's very hard to get back there. So it shows you how this league works and how difficult it is. As far also, they're still 3-3. They're still in for a chance. They might be awful, but they're still going. I read a rumor this morning that CMC might be a possible trade target for the Rams. But as someone put, I think Sam pointed out earlier on, doesn't help when your O-line's dog shit. So it doesn't matter how good your running back is, if the O-line can't keep him bits of space to run into, it doesn't make any difference. I think that they're not great. We spoke a lot of the early part of the year about the Broncos. They've been pretty garbage. I bet they're really happy they signed Russell Wilson to such a large contract. So
they can't get out of that for years. There's years they've tied into that.
Oh yeah, that's a long time problem. That.
Ross, do you think this is pure teething pains, or do you think this is pure regression as a football player?
I'm not sure. So I would say it's just teething pains, but then you look at Seattle and what they're doing without Russ, and you think, has it been coaching all along? Like, has he been elevated by the rest of his team all this time? So I just don't think Nathaniel Hackett's a good coach, like, at all. I think the Broncos tried to get him in so that they can get Aaron Rodgers, and they'll never admit that, but that's plainly what's happened. He's going to be sacked after this year, I reckon, if not during the season, and they'll need to find someone to come in and work with Russ.
I'll get Pete Carroll in.
Yeah, they'll try. Yeah, but you hear all this stuff.
Matt Rule's
about,
free.
You hear all his teammates, his former teammates in the media coming out and saying how much of a phony he is, and you need to speak to his manager to call him, and they don't seem to like him. So when the winning stops, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, but you say when the winning stops, the winning stopped in Seattle a long time ago. Look, when did he win his Super Bowl? Was it his second year or his third year in the NFL? Like he went from that, obviously the highest highs, and look, he had an incredible defense there, obviously, and Pete Carroll was sort of a real visionary at the time, and in sort of schemes that he was scheming on weekends. But as you say, he left with what looked like quite a lot of bad blood from Seahawks. So I think they were quite happy I wouldn't say they're happy to lose him, because I think a lot of Seahawks fans 6 months ago when this trade happened, or maybe 5 months ago, they were all, I think, more on the Russell Wilson side of the trade than sort of Pete Carroll. They were almost hoping Pete Carroll gets sent to the hills and they could bring in Russell Wilson, could get a new coach. And I think there was a bit of knee-jerk saying, well, what the hell, we've got Drew Lock, what's going to happen here? And look, Geno Smith has just absolutely balled out. And I know I'm a big fan of Around the NFL podcast, and Greg Rosenthal just beats the drum day in, day out about Geno Smith. And it's quite comical, and he's done this for years. But the reality is, there's a quarterback here. There's an entertaining quarterback who's working in a system there. It took a while to get going. Everyone was like, who's he throwing to? DK struggled a bit. Tyler Lockett was going off, and now it's sort of balanced itself out again. He's throwing to his tight ends all the time, but not one in particular. Will Disley's got value, Fant a little bit here and there. But that Seahawks team has definitely won that trade. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can now leverage the draft capital and obviously the capital that they got from this trade to beef up that team. Look, I don't want to start being the first person to say, look, they're going to go and draft quarterback, but having hit the jackpot by getting Geno now, who was on a bit of a free pass and teeing up well, they can go after a quarterback who can have a bit of time to sit and learn and actually gradually breed them into the league. But look, sort of back on the Russell Wilson sort of bandwagon, I think something needs to give there, and soon. Something needs to happen. They're in one of the most difficult divisions with the AFC West, or at the start of the season, everyone thought it was. But it'll be very interesting to see if Russell Wilson can turn it around in Denver. Obviously, Mike, you've got Javonte Williams, and that was a tough blow.
I wish for a speedy recovery. That sounds quite nasty, that injury. I mean, there's been quite a lot of injuries this year to a lot of players, but there's some. That's quite a horrific injury, really. So we'll have to see how he recovers from that. But going back to Russell, it shows you how good a coach Pete Carroll is. I think also shows you, because the Seahawks play old-fashioned football, right? It's defense and rumble.
There's no defense being played in Seattle this year, none at all.
But that's
they're
why
trying. They're trying.
But that's why they're set up to play that way. So it shows you when Wilson has played well, it's because the O line's getting a bit of time. He's not even blessed with amazing wide receivers over the years, but he's had some bloody good running backs. I mean, Marshawn Lynch is one of the best to do it in ever, long time. So I think Kenneth Walker he went off this weekend with some.
He looks good.
It shows you how that coach would work. Whereas Hackett's got in and started to try to do air raid, which is probably not Wilson's style. He's likely to get moved on. But
I think another comparison here is that Wilson is nowhere near the caliber of quarterback Aaron Rodgers is. And I don't want to be the guy that blows more smoke up Aaron Rodgers, but the reality is Aaron Rodgers is just different gravy. He's a future Hall of Fame, and look, Russell Wilson will probably end up a future Hall of Fame as well. But the reality is, I think that Nathaniel Hackett being sort of the offensive coach and quarterback coach there has gone from that with Aaron Rodgers, who was sort of carrying him as opposed to him helping Rodgers at the same time, whereas now he's out there to dry, and Russell Wilson's trying to learn and keep up, and Russell Wilson is not sort of pulling his end of the stick. But yeah, who knows how it's going to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you've also certain systems you can put any quarterback into. certain other systems you've got to have a mobile, or you look at the way the Bills are playing with Allen. Would you be able to put Russell Wilson in that? He probably would work quite well because he's got a bit of legs, he can move around. But would Brady work in that system? He's not as mobile. So I think it is systems to players and coaches and whatever else. So that would change. I feel a bit sorry for the Lions this year after watching Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
you thought they're going to go off and have a great season. They've struggled a
and
little bit.
they started so well. Like when I say they started well, the offense started lights out the first 3 games, and everyone was like, "This team's going to put up points. All they need to do is sort out their defense." And then they just ran into what that Patriot Bill Belichick roadblock, and he's given them absolutely sleepless nightmares now. And now they can't do anything.
I was saying for a long time that we're just underrating how bad this Lions defense is. Everyone's saying, "Oh, look at all the pieces they have on offense," and yeah, that's great. That's great, but there's 2 sides of the ball. In fact, there's 3. There's special teams, but there's 2 sides of the ball.
Not in Lambeau Field, there's not. There's only 2.
You need to be able to stop. You need to be able to stop the other team from scoring. The Lions just can't do that. And suddenly, when you stop scoring as an offense, you go through some troubles because you've got a couple of players injured. Then that's when you get found out, completely found out.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Certainly agree with you on that one. So I'm trying to think. The other shock for me this year is a certain person who claims he's in rebuild all the time. Corbyn is absolutely destroyed us in our chapter. So fair play to him.
Should we have a little quick run through how things stand before we finish off on the futures? Yeah,
the future's coming. Beware the future.
I like a rebrand. I think Greg should trademark that, and we should call him Daddy of the Futures or something. Give him a little badge. I'm sure he'd love being Daddy of the Futures.
He could be Doc Brown. Title. He could be Doc Brown. Back to the Future.
Yeah, no, exactly. But straight off the bat, I'm just sort of skimming through some of the standings here. Ross, talk me through this bloody group of death here in Chapter 10, mate.
That's horrible. I want a trade. I want a relocation of my franchise to the PP. Get out of Chapter 10. It's a really strong division. Haji's going to win this week. He's going to be undefeated, 6-0, and the other 3 teams will probably be 3-3. And the points forward, we're taking wins off each other, so that's why everyone's 3-3 and not more. But the points forward were like the 4, or I think we're all in the top 5, 4 in the top 5 in RR. It's just ridiculous. It just makes me give up on fantasy football. Like the small wins that I do get when I select players that are good, and I go and I score like the 3rd or 4th highest in the week, and I just lose anyway. So that's how I'm feeling this week. Next week, ask me again. I'll be up high.
Yeah, if you look at Chapter 10, so as you say, the 4 teams in Chapter 10 are in the top 5 point scorers. That's just in the RR. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few in the PP, like the Slashes and the Tremors and the Panthers as well, that are scoring big. The Tyrants are around there as well, Koalas and Blitz. But just in the RR, it's only the Windy City Blitz that has scored more than Chapter 10. And we all know that team that Mike has put together in the Blitz. That team is an absolute powerhouse as well, and that team could do something that possibly the Rams couldn't do and go back to back. It's going to be an interesting season.
They're getting quite lucky as well. They're winning this week with a poor score. They're not even at 300, and they're going to win. And I think they scraped by Tyler as well. Tyler would be very unhappy at their matchup as well. So he's getting a little bit of luck, but he has a bit of a juggernaut.
I think, similar to you though, Ross, like little Matt, he's had such a rough year this year. He's put up some big scores and keeps getting pipped by that 10 points or whatever. I'm in the rebuild chapter. Everyone seems to be in rebuild. Apart from me, and I can't seem to get a win for love nor money. So that's no good.
Shows you how poor I am at this game.
But yeah, I've done some trades this year. I'm quite happy with the players I've got. Obviously, I'll try and build going forward. So, be interesting. I think we would hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get another win on the board tonight against the killer Puffins. But Sean's in rebuild, but he's put up some decent scores as well. If you consider, what some of the scores they're putting up there. So, should we mention your matchup, Nathan? No quarterbacks.
Yeah. I sort of briefly touched on it earlier with Quinn Williams taking me to town, but yeah, the chapter 7 is it's been an interesting one. Obviously, Bob and his mighty Haddonfield slashes. Look, you can never write them off. I think they've been in the league for such a long time now. He just knows how to be how to run a competitive team. His team's always there and thereabouts. And what he's sitting at 5-0, about to go 6-0. He looks set on being sort of the top seed in the PP. The Gunslingers put together a good dispersal team, so he's sitting now at 4-1. And the one week that he did lose, Mike accidentally sort of, I don't know what the technical issue was, but he basically started
the new
B team.
Yeah, that new pick screen. Which, in all fairness, it wasn't the easiest. So I can understand why. No,
exactly. So the reality is, like, he could well be 5-1. So there's Carla and me just thinking that we've got decent. Carla's got about 6 world-class wide receivers that I've just been trying to get one off her, but flip, she won't let me near them. Love nor money. Then
you need to pay up for Darnell Mooney, my friend. You need to pay up for him.
Then chapter 8 looks strong. Obviously, Sam and his Poker Panthers going for the win. The Koalas, you can never write them off with Cooper Cup. The Tyrants have been unlucky. They 1,500 points for the season plus, and they're sitting at 1-4. Finally, Nick got off the mark. It's not as easy in the futures as it is in the main league. You have a lot more wild cards down here, Nick. You need to learn to swim with the futures. Shaq's obviously in a bit of a rebuild, and if you go on to chapter 9, well, the Tremors are flying, and the Blizzard and the Falcons and the Badgers are in the rear with us. But no, man, I think it's going to be an interesting second half of the season. Now it's all to play for, and teams sort of restructuring now and actually realizing whether they are a contender or whether they're a rebuild side. And I think this is really the next 6 weeks is when people sort of come out and trade and start planning for 2023.
Yeah, we're halfway through the season, right? So I guess the shapes are there. You got some certainly out. The RR. You've got teams at 6-0, and you've got teams at 0-6. So we've got quite a disparity in our league of high and low. Whereas I think the PP's slightly tighter groups, apart from obviously Bob's moving away a little bit. But
I think that's due to trading. I think that the RR loves to trade. So like, I think a lot of teams, when they get a couple of wins down, they decide to sell all their assets. And then, so that just creates like a bigger division. So it'll be interesting.
Whereas the PP's a no trade zone, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. But anyway, one last thing before we end up signing off. Who's got pink here? Is it Tyler or is it the Gators? What are we calling here? Or is it a wild card? Can the Badgers get thrown in there? They don't have a great all play. Yeah, it seems to be sort of a 3-way race between those three.
Well, I think the Gators might pull off a win this week. I think that would be, that gets into 1-5. Tyler had some quarterback issues this week, so he's at one point looked like he might try to get something going, but I don't know. He needs to wrap up both offense and defense right at the same time. That's Tyler's. You get one working and the other one doesn't work. So I don't know. I don't know. Depends. Tyler's got Saquon Barkley, so if he keeps firing off on all cylinders, he'll do quite well. Whereas the Gators are in proper rebuild. He sold off Kelsey. He sold off a few players already this year, like Jordan Brooks. No one to me.
Brady.
Yeah, it is there. So I think it'd be interesting to see. So I guess we should probably reconvene in a couple of weeks and sort of see how those trades and stuff have been. So I think it'd be good tonight. Nice to see everybody. We will reconvene in the near future, and we will see everybody soon.
It's been a good one.
Take care. Right, see you guys.
Been a good one.